D. Wood, let's start by talking about your former teammate and your former quarterback. You were there when he was just starting out. And how similar is this now? 20 years into his career, he's learning a new offense. How big a deal is that?
Well, Greeny, listen, in a truncated offseason, it's a really big deal. But I go back to my time in 2008 when Brett Favre was traded. It's a similar situation. Brett Favre got traded in training camp, and what we basically try to do instead of Brett Favre learning our offense, we learned Brett Favre's West Coast offense. And the first few games was a little rough because Brett Favre was basically drawing things up in the dirt and trying to translate our offense to the West Coast to get everybody on the same page. But once we got rolling, there was a stretch where we played at Foxborough, won, at Tennessee Titans in consecutive weeks and won. We were rolling offensively, and if it wasn't for the hurt elbow, who knows what could have happened that year.
So you put it together around him. If only we had the man who actually made that trade for Brett Favre with us today. Oh, we do. It's Mike Tannebaum, who was the general manager of the Jets then. Take us through that thinking there on that when you brought him in. And in that case, for those who remember, that trade was made in August. Not in now. Brady signs here in March. Now, this has been an off season unlike any other. But that trade was made in August. Take us back to how you guys worked to acclimate him.
Yeah, and first of all, if you guys think D. Wood looks good today, in '08, it was even a better version of D. Wood, so we appreciate your contributions back then. But I would say this, I agree with D. Wood. We blended offenses because Brian Schottenheimer, the offensive coordinator now of Seattle, was our offensive coordinator then. Brian Daboll was who's now the offensive coordinator in Buffalo, was our quarterback coach. And Mike Holmgren, as D. Wood alluded to, there was a lot of his offense going back to his West Coast days. And it was a blending of all those things. And I thought one of the things we did creatively, the coaches implemented some of the offense through a crossword puzzle because we knew that Brett Favre liked crossword puzzles, and we want to keep things fresh and keep him engaged with things. So there was a lot of creativity, there was a lot of blending, and we had a really good result. And going behind the scenes with Tampa Bay, I know that's one of the things they're working on right now is, again, no off-season program, no joint practices, no preseason games. They're going to have to do a lot of the same things so they have the best chance to be successful early in the season.
Trying to picture what a crossword puzzle to learn the offense. Like 17 across is down and in. I don't know exactly how that would work. But Domonique, at the end of the day, how much a factor is this? You got Brady trying to learn a new offense in an unusual circumstance. How much of a factor is this going to be for the Buccaneers as their season begins?
Yeah, I don't see it being a big factor at all. I think the least thing that you have to worry about with a veteran like Tom Brady, a smart player too like Tom Brady, I'd say one of the differences between Tom and Brett Favre is known to kind of draw it up in the dirt. That's who he was as a player on the field. He was not a playbook studying type of guy, so I could understand why it might be a little more difficult and why you might need to put some tricks in there to get him to learn the offense and the terminology. I don't think that's going to be the case for Tom Brady. We saw those clips right there of Tom Brady throwing the ball, and we saw him running, I guess you could call them sprints, something like that. The physical aspect of Tom Brady is what I'd be more concerned about than the mental aspect.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.